Welcome to Blind Squirrel Macro, the pod, our usual companion to our weekly newsletter. This week, the squirrel draws a dotted line between Bitcoin creator Satoshi Nakamoto and the 1987 cult movie Withnail and I. Something for everyone, I think. Anyway, Squirrel is coming to you this morning of Monday the 16th of December Melbourne time. Quick reminder to make sure that you get the show notes for charts and links, and if you don't have that, fix that right now by signing up for free at blindsquirrelmacro.com. First up, as usual, everything in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is categorically not investment advice. Before making any investment decisions, for heaven's sakes, don't listen to a cartoon rodent, talk to a financial advisor. I'm afraid we need to talk about my distant and more successful cousin, Peanut the Squirrel. This meme coin, launched in memory of an unfortunate rodent's untimely demise, became a Trumpian avatar in the run-up to the election and continues to hold a market capitalization of almost $1.2 billion. The pinned tweet of Peanut's fan account on Twitter, 55,000 followers, states proudly that, I quote, "the most entertaining outcome is the most likely." Well, in the words of Maximus Decimus Meridius, are you not entertained? Have we reached peak financial nihilism? I believe it was Dimitri Kofinas that coined, pun intended, the concept of financial nihilism, defining it as a casino capitalism investment philosophy that incorporates belief that everything is just a narrative. In a post-GFC world, home ownership is a pipe dream for many of the millennial and Gen Z generation. For many, lottery ticket type odds on parlay sports bets and meme coins are viewed as a viable ticket to prosperity. In the world of the financial nihilist, the notion of objective value in financial markets is fiercely rejected. Fundamentals are subservient to the community and to the lols. Leading crypto players now even publish manifestos that say the quiet bit out loud. White papers with the title of the sorts of "a lack of pretense that any of this shit does anything or will ever do anything." Well, it looks like Team Crypto is about to enjoy the last lols, like what I did there, with the incoming US administration appointing David Sachs as a crypto czar to the team. It's tempting to suggest that a fox might have just been appointed to oversee the henhouse of the financial nihilists. I've included a clip of him discussing Solana in the show notes. Do check it out. I know what I think. Utter grifter. I suspect one of the possible reasons that the lure of the surreal is so strong, with the crowd obsessing over Peanut, Fart Coin and Chill Guy Coin, is that Bitcoin, the digital gold and apex predator of the cryptosphere, has already effectively been co-opted by big retirement. Bitcoin is now fast becoming just another table at the Wall Street casino. Satoshi Nakamoto, the pseudonymous founder of the Bitcoin network, must be holding his head in his hands with despair. He created the cryptocurrency with the lofty goal of creating a decentralized peer-to-peer electronic cash system that eliminated elite intermediaries and gave financial control back to the individual. Well, BlackRock, Citadel and Goldman Sachs are in charge now. There is no cruelty like irony. The financial opportunity on offer from securitizing and leveraging the asset to satisfy their flow machines was just too tempting. Bitcoins are of absolutely no use to Wall Street if they're being hodled by maxi believers in cold storage wallets. The goal of the financial overlords is to do to Bitcoin and then to Ethereum and the rest what they did to the precious metals with the creation of paper, gold and silver markets 20 years ago. No money can be made from the hoarders of bars and coins. My pal JJ Aliosh has been chronicling this theme in excellent detail in his daily notes. Make sure you track them down. Also, Epsilon Theory's Ben Hunt has been predicting this path for some years. Ben's Bitcoin as art is by far a more persuasive mental model for me than Bitcoin as money. But first we need to discuss the squirrel's crypto journey. Now, this may be just an excuse to liberally quote a favourite movie, but I think all this talk of nihilism makes me keep on thinking about the 1987 classic movie Withnail and I. The movie, set in 1969 Camden Town, London. Two unemployed young actors represent a youth disillusioned by the unkept promises of the previous generation. The pair's response to societal decline and hopeless financial position is to opt out of it in a fog of alcohol and narcotics. Withnail to Marwood as they walk into the grimy Camden Town pub. All right, this is the plan. We get in there and get wrecked. And then we'll eat a pork pie, and then we'll drop a couple of Simontal 50s each. That means we'll miss out on Monday, but come up smiling Tuesday morning. There's a sort of dotted line from the economic and societal decay of the late 1960s that leads directly to the punk rock counterculture of the 1970s. In some ways, Satoshi is a sort of a nerd's version of Sid Vicious from the Sex Pistols, but with, I have to assume, an advanced maths degree. The early adopters of the cryptographic monetary revolution even called themselves cypherpunks. Regular readers will have noticed that this is the first time your rodent has addressed the topic of crypto head-on, beyond the odd tilt at an over-earning crypto intermediary like Coinbase or Robinhood. Oh my god, the squirrel is talking about crypto. It's a bit like that line in the line to the Cumbrian farmer. We've gone on holiday by mistake. I guess that these days the squirrel will be best styled as a no-coiner. But this rodent does have a past in crypto. I've been through the full narrative arc from skeptic to curious to experimenter to generate, feverishly checking prices 24/7 to doubter to hater to now a calm acceptance that this asset class is just now another part of the financial market casino. I don't write about it that much as I have limited interest in picking fights with cults. But Squirrel, why do you choose to have fun staying poor? Have you actually done the work? I'm afraid so. I've read all the books, the white papers and the manifestos. I spent 3 months of the pandemic lockdown getting into the weeds of a blockchain strategy course at Oxford University. I've traded on most of the centralized exchanges and several decentralized ones, or DEXs. I know my DAOs from my dApps. I bought and sold Ether options on Deribit. I looked into operating a helium DePIN Wi-Fi node. I've even given children and godchildren Ethereum as a Christmas present. I've minted an NFT. I've staked tokens in DeFi protocols. I've participated in token airdrops and, of course, been rug pulled once by a fake token airdrop. Oh, and I consulted for one of the largest Bitcoin miners and crypto venture capitalists for a couple of years. Yeah, this rodent's done the work. Don't get me wrong, blockchain technology has the potential to be immensely valuable. Digital payment rails could be massively improved with the help of stablecoins. The integrity of industrial supply chains could be utterly revolutionized with distributed ledgers secured by blockchains. However, it's not necessary for most of these protocols to be fully decentralized with the employment of expensive and energy-hungry consensus mechanisms. In most cases, a private or enterprise blockchain will suffice. However, the lack of a proof of work or proof of stake consensus mechanism means no tokens, which means no speculation, no number go up, and crucially, no flow. Crypto was never a financial justice warrior cause for this rodent. To be honest, the squirrel's anarcho-libertarian credentials are not that great. I actually believe that those that want to end the Fed, want to return to a hard money standard, and want to live in a world without fractional reserve banking and credit have not given sufficient thought to what the world looks like in that particular reality. Hint, I think it looks a bit like the movie Mad Max. Please also spare me from lectures about the unbanked and financial inclusion in the developing world, which usually come from fleece gilet and Rolex-clad millennials in New York, London or Dubai. Or, well, of course, in Dubai minus the fleece. The squirrel was fortunate enough to participate very profitably, and now I consider it fortune not skill, in the Bitcoin rally and the DeFi summer of 2020. While I fully acknowledge that Bitcoin is becoming the new digital gold for younger generations, it comes with a vicious drawdown profile that I find inconsistent with its purported role as a store of value. I also have issues with Bitcoin ownership concentration. Who's really in charge? But that's a topic for another day. What ultimately drove me away from the asset class pretty much completely was crypto's infamous year of greed, grift and incompetence in 2022. The sequence of spectacular collapses of Terra's lunar algorithmic stablecoin. What were we thinking? 3 Hours Capital, the OG crypto hedge fund, those grifts at Celsius Network and Voyager Digital, and culminating in the demise of the JP Morgan of crypto, Sam Bankman-Fried's FTX, was enough to convince me that the whole digital asset space needed to put in another decade in the wilderness. The industry needed to grow up and let the grifters move on to the next grift. But I'd not counted on the determination of the finance industry to create another table at the casino. Possibly a stretch, but hear me out. Is Bitcoin a bit like Marwood in the final scene of Withnail and I, opting back into the normal world, leaving Withnail, perhaps the OG cypherpunk, behind to recite Hamlet soliloquies to the wolves of London Zoo? Love it or loathe it, crypto has now become an accepted financial asset of the macro and multi-asset toolkit. Those readers with any connection to the tyranny of relative benchmarking now know that to completely ignore it these days is an active asset allocation decision with the potential for significant relative performance consequences. The good news for them is that the process of institutionalization means that Bitcoin has now started to behave a lot like any other risk asset. It's been neutered. Bitcoin's rolling annual correlation with the Nasdaq 100 has been in the 70 to 90% territory for the bulk of the latest bull run. The ebb and flow of central bank liquidity is probably now the most important driver to watch, and I note that global liquidity guru Mike Howell is calling for a new round of major monetary stimulus, this time out of China. Big retirement fund flows to the new alternative asset class will also continue to be a key factor to monitor. I guess we should also take a second to consider one possible esoteric flow, namely Senator Loomis's strategic Bitcoin reserve for the US. Now, this would certainly be very exciting for members of Team Number Go Up that donated so generously to Mr. Trump's, and I have to assume Ms. Loomis's campaign. However, for the United States to seriously undermine its monetary hegemon status by supporting a competing currency does not strike this rodent as a great thing for Team USA in the long term. Mr. President, I have Mr. Besant on line 1. He sounds agitated. The next esoteric flow that needs to be considered is the extent to which the spot Bitcoin ETF adoption effect has now been fully absorbed and priced. I'll be the first to admit that this rodent massively underestimated the success of January's launch of these products. Spot Bitcoin ETFs, sponsored by reputable fund shops like WisdomTree, have been available outside of the US for years. But as one of my loyal readers wryly observed to me the other day in the Dre, our members' Discord server, Americans would rather buy the mezzanine tranche of a collateralized debt obligation than a foreign ETF. Give your head a wobble, squirrel. Thank you, Whirly. The success of the US-listed spot ETFs has been remarkable. Their aggregate market value now is north of $104 billion, representing over 5.2% of outstanding Bitcoin and 1.65% of all US-listed ETF. In fact, not far off the upper bound of BlackRock's recent 1 to 2% asset allocation recommendation. When you contrast that number with the market value of aggregate physical gold ETFs, $121 billion and 0.86% of the $14 trillion worth of total mined gold, could we be getting close to an initial saturation point, after which point only incremental savings flows will drive AUM growth at the ETFs? For fun, I constructed a generic YOLO portfolio, you only live once. Judging from social media, an equal-weighted portfolio of MicroStrategy, Nvidia, Palantir, Tesla and Bitcoin is basically the new risk parity portfolio, less the meme coins, for your average financial nihilist. The YOLO portfolio has left the broad equity market and even my constituents remain a state secret, but a basically profitless tech. My trademarked garbage portfolio left that completely in the dust. With Christmas approaching, seasoned investors can anticipate some "this is how you invest" advice from younger relatives at the festive dining table. In section 2 of the letter this week, the squirrel takes readers through some coping strategies. Not psychological advice, but a deep dive on alternatives now available to the no-coiners, now that listed options are available on the spot Bitcoin ETFs. Definitely worth checking out. Do find out more about that and other matters at blindsquirrelmacro.com. You can also find me on Twitter at squirrelmacro and Blue Sky at blindsquirrel. Thanks again for listening. Please don't forget to spread the word. Squirrel out.